Greetings to all. Myself Mohanavali, working as an assistant professor in Erode Sengundar Engineering College, Department of Biomedical Engineering. So in this video we are going to see about the elements of visual perception. So from name itself we can understand perception, which is nothing but a point of view. So different persons have different perceptions according to the object present in front of them. So now we are going to say about what are the elements involved in the visual perception. So visual, which is nothing but through the eye we can see the object. So first we are going to say about the structure of the eye, because it is the main element. So from the processing image acquired in the eye only we can able to process the object, and we can decoded that information in the brain. Then only we can recognize this is the object present in front of him. So first, structure of human eye. We all know the human eye, which is nothing but a spherical in shape. Okay, it consists of three layers. The outer layer is cornea and sclera, and the middle layer is choroid, and the inner layer is retina. So the retina plays a main part in the image formation, because whatever object we see, the information about the object are located or imaged in the retina part only. So the center region of the retina is called the fovea. So if the information enter the fovea only, we can able to process that image. Otherwise we doesn't able to process that image. So as I already said, eye is a nearly a sphere in shape with a diameter of about 20 millimeter. So the eye consists of three membranes. The outer layer is cornea and sclera, and the middle layer is choroid, and the inner layer is retina. So cornea, which is nothing but the anterior portion of the outer layer, is called the cornea. It is a tough and transparent tissues, so which covers the anterior surface of the eye. Okay, so through the cornea only the light is able to pass through the eye. Okay, so the cornea we should be always in a transparent medium. So the continuous with the cornea, there is a sclera, which is present in the posterior part of the outer layer. It is a opaque region. Why it is opaque region means, because whatever the light enters our eye, it cannot be scattered or it just pass through the eye, because clear. So only the sclera is a opaque membrane. If the light passed or scattered from our eye, means the information of the image cannot be getted properly. So the sclera is always a opaque membrane, and the cornea is always a transparent membrane. So the middle layer, which is nothing but a choroid. So the choroid lies directly below the sclera. So this membrane contains a network of blood vessels which supplies nutrition to the eye. Okay, so whatever object it is, it consists of it has some nutrition to work properly. So the choroid has a blood vessels which supplies the nutrition to our eye. So even superficial damage, injury to the choroid can lead to the severe eye damage as a result of inflammation, so that restricts the blood flow. If any damage or any injury acquired to the choroid, means the flow of blood is not proper in the eye, so it will affect all the functions of the eye. Next, the choroid coat is heavily pigmented, which helps reduce the amount of extraneous light entering the eye and backscatter within the optic lobe. So the amount of eye can also be controlled by the pigment of the choroid. So at its anterior extreme, which is nothing but front portion, the choroid is divided into two regions. One is ciliary body, another one is iris. So the ciliary body consists of the fibrous tissues which helps to locate the lens in a particular position. So the iris, based upon the contract and the expand of the iris, the amount of light enter the eye will vary. So based upon this contraction and expansion of the iris only, the amount amount of eye enter the eye will vary. So the central opening of the iris, which is nothing but a pupil, it varies in diameter, which is nothing but 2 to 8 millimeter. So whenever the iris contract or expand, the size of the pupil will vary. So the diameter of the pupil is 2 to 8 millimeter. So there is a two pigment present in the iris. The front of the iris, it consists of visible pigment. At the back, it consists of a black pigment. So the lens consists of a concentric layers of fibrous cells. So the lens is also made up of a concentric fibrous cells and is suspended by fibers that are attached to the ciliary body. So based upon the fibers present in the ciliary body only, our lens is suspended at a particular location. So lens is also made up of a concentric fibrous cells. So the lens is mainly composed of 60 to 70% of water and 6% water, and also protein, then any other tissues in the eye. So it only consists of 60 to 70% of water, 6% of fat, and the protein. So lens is colored by a slightly yellow pigmentation that increases with age. So when ages increases, whenever ages is increases, the yellow pigmentation is also, color of the pigmentation is also increases. So the excessive clouding of the lens, referred to as a cataract, can lead to poor color discrimination and a loss of clear vision. So whenever the cloud formation occurs in the eye, means it is called as a medical term, it is called as a cataract. So it can lead to poor color vision and loss of clear vision also. So the lens absorbs 8% of visible light spectrum with a higher absorption at shorter wavelength. So it mainly absorbs the 8% of the visible light. The both infrared and ultraviolet light are also absorbed by the proteins within the lens, and in excessive amounts it can damage the eye. So the lens mainly absorb the 8% of visible spectrum, and the proteins present in the lens, it absorbs the infrared and the ultraviolet. If the infrared and ultraviolet entering the eye is increases, it can lead to the severe damage to the eye. Next, so far we saw about what is choroid and what is sclera and what is retina. Now we are going to see about the retina. So the innermost membrane of the eye is the retina, which lies inside of the wall's entire posterior portion. So it is mainly present in the posterior portion of the inner region of the eye. So when the eye is focused, the light from the object is imaged on the retina. So when eye is focused on any object, the image of that object is formed in the retina only. So the pattern vision is afforded by discrete light septors distributed over the surface of the retina. So the overview of the object is mainly formed in the retina. It is because of only the receptors. It consists of two receptors, one is cones, another one is rods. So cones, nearly 6 to 7 million cones are present in our body. It is majorly located in the central region of the retina, which is called as the fovea. So at the fovea region, it consists of about 6 to 7 million cones. Throughout other area, the cones are not presented. The cones are mainly sensitive to color region. Okay, so it can helps the human to resolve fine details of the image, because each cone is connected to its nerve end, because in our body all the informations decoded in the brain or encoded in the brain are mainly based upon the informations are carried by the neurons, which is nothing but our nerves. So each part of our body consists of specific nerves, so that will helps the brain. Okay, that will help us to carry the information to the brain, and the information decoded in the brain is again transmitted to the particular process. Okay, so in this also, in eye also, there is a nerve which is called as a optic nerve, which helps to decode the information about the image in the brain. So each cone is connected to the one nerve end. So the muscles rotate the eye until the image of a region of interest falls on the fovea. So the muscles in the eye which helps the eye to rotate the muscles, okay, to rotate to get the clear view of the object, which is so it helps the help us to focus that the light from the object is focused on the fovea region. So the retina nearly consists of two regions, which is nothing but blind spot and the fovea. So whatever the light enters the fovea only we can get the information. If the light from the object is enter the blind spot means we can't able to process that image in the retina. So whatever light focused in the fovea can only be imaged in the retina. So cone vision is also called as the photopic or the bright light vision. So as we already said, cone is mainly sensitive to the color region. It is present only in the fovea region. So nearly 6 to 7 million cones are present. Cone is mainly for the photopic or bright light vision. Next one is rods. So rods is present in other parts, other parts other than fovea. It is about 75 to 150 million distributed over the retina. Other than fovea region, the rods are presented over the retina. So the larger area of distribution, several rods are connected to a single nerve ending. It reduces the amount of detail discernible by these receptors. So as we already know, cones is mainly give the fine details of the object, but the rods it reduces the amount of details. Okay, it also connected to a single nerve ending. Okay, so but in cones it connected to one cone is connected to one nerve end, but here all the rods are connected to single nerve ending. So the amount of the details of images reduced in the rods, but it is distributed all over the retina other than fovea. So the rods capture an overall image of the field of view. It just give the outline of the object and doesn't give any fine details of the object. So they are not involved in color vision and are sensitive to low level of illumination. So we already know cones is mainly for the color vision, but here rods are not for color vision. It just means for only low level of information. So for example, the objects that appear brightly colored in daylight appear as a colorless in a moonlight. Okay, so in bright light the object may be appeared as a colored one, but in a moonlight it appeared as a colorless. Okay, this is because only of the rods present in the eye. So this phenomenon is called as the scotopic or the dim light vision. So cones are called as the photopic vision or bright light vision, and rods are called as the scotopic or the dim light vision. So now we see about the image, which is nothing but the rods and cones distributions of the right eye, which is when seeing some of the objects. Okay, so the x-axis it consists of a degrees from visual axis, which is nothing but central of fovea. So here the graph is drawn based upon the light passed in the center of fovea region, and y-axis is number of rods or cones present per millimeter square. Okay, here the degrees from visual axis which is represented in the form of degrees only. So 0 degree means it is a exact location of the fovea, and 20, 40, 60, 80 means 20 degree off from the fovea, exact position of the fovea. Okay, now we see about this. Dotted lines are represented as rods and the continuous lines are represented as cones. You just see the cones from 80 to 20 degree axis, the cones are present in a smaller amount only. Okay, but whenever it is comes to the 0 degree, which is nothing but at the center region of the fovea, the number of cones is suddenly increased. you just see it, which is nearly between 1,35,000 to 1,80,000. Between that number of cones are present at the central region of the retina, and after 20 degree axis the number of cones are reduced. So as I already said, the cones are majorly present in the fovea region. So only at the center region of the fovea the number of cones are present at the higher rate. So only the graph shows the 0 degree, the number of cones are higher degree. Okay, then the dotted lines represents the rods. Okay, so the rods are present throughout the retina other than fovea, so it is distributed over the larger area of the retina. Okay, so only you just see from 80 to 20 degree it is increasing. Okay, it is steadily increasing. So the number of cone rods values are increased, but when it comes to 0 degree, okay, at the center region of the fovea the number of rods is nearly 0 because the rods are not present in the fovea region. So only it is a 0 degree at so it is number of rods present in the fovea region is 0. So only 0 degree it consists of the 0. From after that 0 degree the rods are again increasing in manner. Okay, so this is the distribution of the rods and cones in the eye. Okay, so there is also a one region which is nothing but blind spot. So blind spot means it doesn't consist of any receptors in that particular region is called as the blind spot. So if there is an absence of receptors in particular region, it is called as a blind spot. So whenever you see at 20 degree axis there is no rods and also cones present in there, so this region is called as the blind spot. So the absence of receptors in the area is called as the blind spot. Okay, so the distribution of receptors is radially symmetric about the fovea. So the distribution of the is radially symmetry about the fovea. So the receptor density is measured in degrees from the visual axis. Normally the receptor density, which is nothing but the distributed area of the receptors, is generally represented as a degree only. Okay, so the cones are most dense in the center area of the fovea, and the rods increases in density from the center out of approximately 20 degree of axis. We already, as I already said, at the center region of the fovea the number of cones are dense, and the 20 degree axis off from the center region only the number of rods are increased. So the density decreases out of the periphery of the retina. So the fovea itself a circular indentation in the retina of about, so the fovea is, which is nothing but it is also a circular indentation of about 1.5 millimeter in diameter, and area is 1.77 millimeter square. So the diameter, which is nothing but 1.5 millimeter, and area is 1.77 millimeter square. So the density of cones in the area of retina is of the order, which is nothing but 1,50,000 elements per millimeter square. So in 1 millimeter square there is a number 1,50,000 cones are present in the retina. So the number of cones in the fovea, which is the region of highest acuity in the eye, it's about 2,65,000 elements. At fovea the cones present amount is, which is nothing but 2,65,000 elements are present in the fovea. Okay, so far we see about how the image is processed in the retina, and what are the receptors is helped for making a image in the retina, for the formation of the image in the retina, and the structure of the eye. So far we are see about these topics, and now we are going to see about the image formation in the eye, how the light entered the eye, and how that based upon the light how the image is formed in the retina. These are the details now we are going to see in the image formation in the eye. Okay, so our eye is same as like a photographic film, but it is quite converse to the photographic camera. Okay, so in photographic camera the lens has a fixed focal length. Okay, so but the focusing at varying distance can vary. Okay, the focusing at varying distance is achieved by varying the distance between the lens and the imaging plane. Okay, so where the film it consists of a chip. Okay, so in ordinary camera the lens has a fixed focal, so the distance between the imaging and the lens can be varied. Okay, but in the human eye it is quite converse, because the distance between the center of the lens and the imaging sensor, which is nothing but our retina, is fixed. Okay, the length between the lens and the retina is not varied. Okay, the focal length needed to achieve proper focus is obtained by varying the shape of the lens. So focal length can be varied with the help of the expand and contract of the lens. As I already said, if our lens contract or expand, based upon that only the amount of light enter will vary. Okay, so whenever our lenses expand or contract, the focal length will vary. Okay, so the fibers in the ciliary body accomplish this flattening or thickening the lens for distant or near objects respectively. So as I already said, with the help of the fibers present in the capillary body is only help to place a lens in particular position, and also based upon the fibers only our lens can able to flatten or thicken. If the lens is flattened means we are seeing the distant object. If the length is thickened means, which is nothing but we are seeing the near objects. Okay, thickening means which is nothing but contraction. Whenever the lenses contract means we are seeing the nearby object. When the lens is expanded means, which is nothing but flattening means, we are seeing the distant objects. Okay, so as I already said, the distance between the lens and our retina is constant. Okay, so it is nearly about 17 millimeter. It is always a constant for every human. So now see about an example. Okay, so here the C, which is nothing but a center region of the lens, and the image, which is nothing but an arrow mark which indicates the retina. Okay, so image formed in the retina is tree. Okay, so the distance between the lens and the retina is 17 millimeter. Now a person is going to see a tree which is present 100 meter away from him or her. Okay, the tree the object height is, which is nothing but 15 meter. Okay, now we are going to calculate height of the image formed in the retina. So whatever height of the image, for example, if a tree is of height 15 meter, if we are seeing means the same 15 meter height will not be processed in the retina. So the image will be processed, but the height of the image formed in the retina will vary according to the actual one. So as I already said, the range of focal length here is 14 millimeter to 17 millimeter, which is nothing but a distance between the lens and the retina. Okay, suppose a person is looking at a tree 15 meter at a distance of 100 meter. Okay, so now letting H denotes the height of the image formed in the retina. So how we are going to calculate this? Height of the image divided by distance of between the image and the person. Okay, which is nothing but 100, which is equal to H, height of the image formed in the retina divided by distance between the lens and the retina. So based upon this formula we can calculate the what is the height of the image formed in the retina here, which is nothing but 2.5 millimeter. Okay, so the height of the normal height of the tree is 15 meter, but the processed image of the tree in the retina height is about 2.5 millimeter. So the object is processed as it is, but the height only vary. Okay, and also In this diagram you can see the tree is in height of 15 meter, okay, but the processed image in the retina in this circle, okay, in retina part you can see the whatever the image we are see, it is processed in the retina as a reverse only, okay. You just see that there is a mirror image of that tree is processed is captured in the retina. So the perception takes place by the relative excitation of the light from the objects. So which, okay, what are the perception mainly based upon the receptors, okay, so which converts the radiant energy into the electrical impulses that are ultimately coded by these which is nothing but decoded by the brain. So as I already stated, the amount of light from the object enter our eye will be like a radiant energy, okay. The receptors present in the retina rods and cones converts that radiant energy into the electrical impulses, because each rods and cones are connected to a nerve ending which is nothing but a optic nerve, correct. So the optic nerve converts the radiant energy into the electrical impulses. That electrical impulses are carried to the brain. After the information decoded by the brain, the informations are passed to the sensory organs, and so far we can identify that object is a tree. Next we are going to see about the brightness adaptation and discrimination. So in digital, images are generally represented as a discrete set of values. Here the values is nothing but an intensity values. So the light from the object is generally represented as an intensity values, okay. So the brightness adaptation is generally eye's ability to discriminate between the different intensities values, so which will be considered for processing the images, okay. So the range of intensity values the human visual system can adapt is enormous, which is of the order of 10 power of 10 from scotopic threshold to the glare limit. Here the scotopic, which is nothing but an image from the image processed by the rods, is called the scotopic, and photopic means the image from the cone cells, okay. So here some of the experiments are happened, okay. So to indicate the subjective brightness, here the subjective brightness, which is nothing but an intensity perceived by the human visual system. So the, as I already said, different humans have different perception. So based upon that perceived information's intensity values, the subjective brightness will vary, okay. So the subjective brightness, which is nothing but a logarithmic function of the light intensity incident on the eye, okay. So from the object, some of the lights, okay, incident on the eye, so which is nothing but a logarithmic function of the light incident on the eye, okay. So the long solid curve represents the range of intensities to which the visual system can adapt. So long solid curve represents the maximum amount the eye can adapt, okay. In photopic vision alone, the range is about 10 power of 6. So photopic vision is about 10 power, which is nothing but photopic means the based upon the cones, okay. So the transition from scotopic to photopic vision is gradual over the range 0.0012 to 0. milliampere. So ambient, which is nothing but intensity, the light intensity values, light intensity units, as the double branches of the adaptation curves ranges show, okay. So this is known as the adaptation curve of the double branches. So as I already said, the brightness adaptation, which is nothing but a total range of distant intensity values the eye can discriminate simultaneously. so when compared with the total adaptation range. So total adaptation range, which is nothing but a maximum limit the eye can able to discriminate the intensities. So the brightness adaptation, which is nothing but total range of the intensity discriminated by the eye. Okay, for a given set of conditions, okay, the current sensitive level of the visual system is called the brightness adaptation level. So whatever, because different persons have different sensitivity levels, that sensitive levels of the visual system is called as the brightness adaptation level. Okay, the short intersecting curve represents the range of subjective brightness that an eye can perceive when adapted to this level. So the risk rather is restricted by that having a level BB and all the stimuli as perceived as indistinguishable blacks. Okay, the upper portion of the curve is not actually restricted if extended to so the below the region is restricted and the above region is not restricted because it is mainly for viewing the distant objects. Okay, if it is loses its meanings, much higher intensities would simply arise the adaptation level higher than BA. If the image of the information is losses, then the higher intensity will occur. That higher intensity will represent the loss of the information. So as we already said here, log of intensity. So the main function of the brightness adaptation is to discriminate the intensity values. Okay, so x-axis is light log of intensity and y-axis is subjective brightness. Here there is a scotopic and photopic vision. So whenever there is a low level of intensity is called as a scotopic vision. Whenever there is a intensity values increases in photopic vision, the subjective brightness is also increases. So subjective brightness, which is nothing but a intensity perceived by the human visual system. Okay, so the adaptation range, okay, adaptation ranges with nothing but a based upon the persons, the adaptations of the visual system will vary, which is nothing but to discriminate the intensity values from the light coming from the image. Okay, that is called as the adaptation range. Sometimes it may vary, and if it is reached after the threshold, it is called as the glare limit. So there is a one is BB, another one is BA. Okay, there is a short curve. Okay, if the intensity is greater than BA means we can't able to access the intensity, which is mainly represent the loss of information from the image. So the ability of the light to discriminate the intensity's values at any specific adaptation level is of great interest. Okay, so there is an experiment used to determine the capability of the human visual system for brightness adaptation. So it consists of having a subject look at a flat uniformly illuminated area, okay, large enough to occupy the entire field of view. So they are going to conduct one of the experiment. So the subject have to look at a flat uniformly illuminated area to occupy the entire field of view. Okay, this area typically is a diffuser, okay, such as opaque glass. Okay, so the light will does not pass through it. Okay, it is illuminated from behind by a light source, which is nothing but from the light source only, I. So here the light source is I, which is nothing but intensity of the intensity from the original image. So the light source from the information of the image is nearly represented by a light source. That light source is called as a I with variable intensity. Okay, to this field is added an increment of illumination. Now we are going to add some of the intensities increment of illumination to this, which is nothing but I. Illumination is nothing but an amount of source of light incident on the scene. Okay, which is nothing but amount of light incident on the object is called as the illumination. Okay, so the amount of the light now enter the object is increased by a del I. Okay, so in the in the form of a short duration flash that appear as a circle in the center of a uniformly illuminated AF field. So there is a amount of light entered into that object is called as a eye, okay, which is nothing but an opaque glass. Okay, now we are going to add some of the illumination into this, which is represented by a del I, and it appears as a circle in the center of a uniformly illuminated field. Okay, the uniformly illuminated field is which is nothing but an input intensity. So here the eye, which is nothing but an illumination of the light source, in that we are going to add some of the in that we are going to increment some of the illumination that is represented as a circle throughout that field area I. So it is represented as a I plus del I, because there is always the before that it consists of I, which is nothing but an illuminated light from in the object. We are going to add some of the illumination, which is nothing but del I. So it is represented as a I plus del I. So why we are going to do this means we are going to conduct experiment to determine the subjective brightness and the brightness adaptation of our visual system. If eye is not bright enough, okay, the subject says no. Okay, if eye is get stronger means the subject response will be a yes. Okay, so based upon the response from the subject only we are going to calculate the values. Okay, so when I is strong enough, the subject will give a response of x all the time. Okay, whenever the I is getting stronger means the subject will say yes throughout the time. Okay, so the quantity del IC divided by I, where IC is the increment of illumination to the object, okay, which is nothing but 50% of the time with the background illumination I is called as the Weber ratio. Okay, so the Weber ratio, which is nothing but a ratio of increment of illumination to background of illumination, is called as the Weber ratio. So already we have some of the illumination, in that we are going to add the increment of the illumination. So Weber ratio, which is nothing but del IC divided by I, is called as the Weber ratio. Okay, so based upon the Weber ratio only we are going to determine whether the brightness adaptation is good or bad. Okay, a small value of del IC divided by I means a small percentage change in the intensity is discriminable. Okay, if del IC divided by del I is small means then the small percentage of change in intensity is needed, that is good brightness adaptation. Okay, so if del IC Weber ratio is small, then there will be a small change in percentage of intensity is needed, which indicates the good brightness adaptation. If Weber ratio is larger means the large percentage of change in intensity is needed, it indicates the poor brightness discrimination. So the typical is okay. So here the x-axis, which is nothing but log I, which is nothing but illumination of the source in the object. Okay, then del IC divided by I, which is nothing but an sum of the incremental illumination added to the original illumination. Okay, this is the typical plot of the Weber ratio. So a plot of del IC as a function of log I has the characteristic shape. Okay, this curve shows that brightness discrimination is poor at the low level of illumination, and it improves significantly as background illumination is increases. If background illumination is increases, normally the Weber ratio will decreases. Okay, if it is a low level of illumination means the Weber ratio will be large. Okay, so the two branches in the curve reflect the fact that at low level of illumination vision is carried out by the rods, and a high level vision is carried out by a function of the cones. So based upon this brightness adaptation we can classify what is the function of rods and cones. Okay, if it is a low level of illumination, it is a function of the rods. If it is a high level of information means it is illumination means it is called as the function of cones, because already know the rods will give only a overview of the image, cones only gives a fine details of the image. So only during the cones, okay, so only the information from the receptors is has a high level of illumination, and the rods consist of a low level of illumination. Okay, there is some of the phenomenons, okay, to represent that perceived brightness, okay, based upon, it is not simply upon the intensity, but also it consists of some of the parameters to demonstrate this. Okay, so there are some three phenomenons. One is match band pattern, another one is simultaneous contrast, another one is optical illusion. These three phenomena based not only on intensities but also based upon other characteristics also. Okay, let us see about what is match band pattern. So it is the match band pattern. So the match band effect, which is nothing but a spatial interaction of luminances from an object and its surround, creates the phenomenon. It is called as the match band effect, which is nothing but an based upon the spatial interaction of luminance, which is nothing but in particular location of an object and its surrounded area. It is called as the match band effect. Okay, so this effect shows the brightness not in the monotonic function of a luminance. Here the brightness is not only a function of the luminance. Okay, just to see, there will be a shape of, okay, some of the gray levels from higher to lower. So the actual intensity, just to deduct only the boundaries. Okay, so the actual intensity is, it consists of a constant and a sharp edges, but when it is a perceived intensity means there will not be a sharp edge boundaries, because there will be, according to the surrounding also, the intensity values will vary. So which is nothing but it consists of a constant edges or boundaries, means it is an actual intensity. So with respect to the surrounding brightness also, the perceived intensities will vary. So only there is not a sharp boundaries occurred here. So the first is based on the fact that the visual in system tends to undershoot or overshoot around the boundary of areas of different intensities. So as I already said, here in this image there will be different intensities, okay, from bright to lower. Okay, based upon that intensities, the boundaries are going to be captured. Okay, so the intensity of these stripes is constant. So it actually pursues a brightness pattern that is strongly scalloped near the boundaries. So in this second image, as I already said, there will be a constant stripes. Okay, the constant stripe denotes a actually pursued brightness pattern that is strongly scalloped near the boundaries. Okay, so this pursued scalloped bands are called the match bands, after Ernest Mach, who first discovered this phenomenon in 1865. Okay, so based upon that boundaries only, okay, surroundings, the brightness, perceived brightness will vary. If we are not looking through the surrounding illumination or surrounding perception means, we can get the constant stripes. So this is called as the match band effect. So next we are going to see about the simultaneous contrast. Okay, here in this it consists of 3 squares. In each square it consists of one small square. Okay, but here you just see this, the inner squares have the same intensities. Okay, but the bigger square, okay, the outer squares have different brightness or intensity levels. So based upon the surroundings, okay, outer squares, the inner square values will always be varied. So the simultaneous contrast is a region perceived brightness does not depend only on its intensity. It does not depend only on its intensities. All the center squares have exactly the same centers. Yes, there is a 3 square that all the inner squares have the same intensities, but each appears to the eye to become darker as the background gets lighter. Okay, so based upon the background information, each of the inner square appears darker. Okay, in first image you just see there will be a intensity. Okay, in first square, okay, the brightness is very high. Okay, the outer square has a heavy brightness, but the intensity of the inner square is same as all of these. Okay, in second image the brightness is decreased, which is nothing but it gets lighter. Now compared to one, the second inner sphere is brightness is very high. Okay, next third, the third image of that outer square is brightness is very lighter, but the inner square intensity is very highlighted compared to the first two. Okay, so whenever the intensities are also the same, whenever the brightness value is decreased, the intensity value of the inner square will be very high. Okay, so a more familiar example is a piece of paper that looks white when lying on a desk. When a paper is placed on a desk means it appears like a white. Okay, but whenever it appear totally black when used to close the eyes. Okay, whenever you are using the paper to shield eyes, it look like a black. Okay, so based upon this brightness, okay, based upon the brightness, the intensity values, background brightness, the intensity values will vary. This is called as a simultaneous contrast. Whenever the brightness gets lighter, the intensity of the inner square will gets more and more brighter. Next, optical illusion. So the optical illusion, which is nothing but it is the characteristics of the human visual system in which eye feels non-existing details or wrongly perceives geometrical properties of the object, which is nothing but it shows some of the image, but it we can able to understand the non-existing character of that image, means it is called as an optical illusion. Illusion, which is nothing but an imagination or something we can't able to something it cannot be projected by the image, but we can able to understand the details. Okay, so in this first image you just see there will be some of the symbols are denoted, but when you are looking through it you can able to get a square. Correct, in center if you are seeing means it look like a square. Okay, if you are have to draw the square means you just have to draw 4 lines, okay, to make a square, but here it doesn't consist of any lines, but we can able to identify there is a square. Okay, it is called as an optical illusion. Okay, so the outline of a square is seen clearly despite the fact there is no lines defining a square. Okay, so we can able to see the square clearly, but there are no lines to represent that square, so it is called as an optical illusion. In second image you just see there will be some of the lines draw in both horizontal, vertical and side. Okay, but you can able to identify there is a circle present in that. Okay, so it is same as like that. Okay, so same effect this time with a circle. Okay, we can able to identify the non-existing character of a circle. The lines are sufficient to give the illusion of that circle. Okay, in next one, third one diagram. Okay, here the length of that line is same, but the arrow mark only different. Okay, so whenever you are going to look through it, so okay, the length of the line two are varied. Okay, so the second line is higher, the second length of the line is very high compared to the first line, but the both lines are same, the arrow marks only different. So based upon the arrow mark only we thought it is a different in length. So there are the two horizontal line segments of same length, but whenever you are going to view it, it appears one appears shorter than the other. So it is also one of the optical illusion. Now see that both are of same length, but when you are looking through it, it appears as a one is shorter than the other. Okay. Next, fourth one is, in this all the line segments are parallel only, but based upon that cross hatches, those line segments are not look like a parallel one. So whenever you remove that cross hatches, the lines are parallel. You just see it. So based upon the different shape of that cross hatchings, these line segments are look like they are not in parallel. So finally, all lines are equal distance and parallel, yet the cross hatching creates the illusion that those lines are forever from being parallel. So as I already said, based upon the cross hatchings, okay, these lines are not look like a parallel and also a equal distance. So this is called as the optical illusions. So the optical illusions means, which is nothing but you can able to identify the non-existing character of the particular geometrical properties of the objects. It is called as an optical illusion. Thank you. In this video we just see about how the perception will vary for different persons, and what are the elements involved in it, and how the images are formed in the retina, and what are the different phenomena based upon the intensities and also the brightness adaptation and also the human perception. We saw about those phenomena also. Thank you.